Greetings traveler! Skyblivion gives us many more reasons to explore Cyrodiil. New boss fights, crafting recipes, unique weapons and whispering stones. So I decided to take a closer look at the official interactive map and found new locations and underwater scenes that did not exist in the original Oblivion. In this video I'll show you these places, compare them with the original game and try to explain what they might actually be.
Maik knows much, tells some. Maik knows many things others do not.
Enjoy watching. Let's start with a place near the Oblivion Gate in the Colovian Highlands. In the original Oblivion, this gate is already here, but if you look at the area around it, there is basically nothing special. Mountains, trees, rocks, just ordinary wilderness. So the portal itself is there, but the space around it barely reinforces the feeling that something actually happened nearby, or that the Daedric invasion is threatening anyone. Now look at the same place on Skyblivion's interactive map. The gate is still there, but next to it a small settlement has appeared. Houses, gardens and roads connecting this area. And to me, this feels like a very good reimagining. Also, this is where I really want to mention that the Skyblivion devs talked about adding a small number of their own minor quests, meant to better flesh out some of Oblivion's empty places. I'm not saying there will definitely be a quest here specifically, because we don't know that. But this is exactly the kind of place where it would fit very naturally. A settlement right next to an Oblivion gate. The threat literally nearby and some NPC asking you to help defend this place or recover something that was left after the attack. And as a reward, there could easily be some unique item, a recipe or even a whispering stone. That is just my assumption, but based on the logic of the location, it feels very fitting. So after release, this is definitely a place I would want to visit, at least to check what the devs actually did with this settlement, and whether they left something more here than just decoration. Now let's move on to something really massive. This place is located near Anvil, just underwater. In the original Oblivion, I swam all around this area and did not find a single hint of anything like this. Yes, there are some well-known underwater finds near Anvil, but this is on a completely different scale. On Skyblivion's interactive map, there is a huge skeleton of some creature lying here, and it is so massive that even ships nearby look small next to it. But that is still not all, because later I found another similar skeleton in a completely different part of the map, near Bravil, not far from Bornwatch Camp. And this is where I genuinely got stuck, because I could not really figure out what kind of creature this was supposed to be. On the one hand, the first skeleton partly looks like a whale, but the head and the overly massive tail already make it look far more monstrous. I tried connecting it both to Elder Scrolls lore and to real-world analogs, but I still could not find a full match. And there is one more thing here. If you look closely, there is a ship lying underneath this creature's skeleton. And since we've already started talking about shipwrecks, there is more to show here as well. The ship under the skeleton near Anvil, just like the creature itself, is something I did not find in the original Oblivion. But it is far from the only sunken ship you can notice on Skyblivion's map. It is important to clarify that some of them were already in the original game. For example, the ship near the Aeliad ruins of Beldaburo, and also the ship near Mouth of the Panther. But there are others too. Near the waterfront district, close to the Imperial City, you can see several sunken ships at once. One lies near the shore, another one is a bit farther out in the water, and one more is closer to Fort Homestead. There is also a separate ship near Fort Gold Throat. Overall, you can already find at least 7 ships like this on the map. If you manage to find even more sunken ships on the map, make sure to write about it in the comments. If you enjoy my Elder Scrolls content, please don't pass by like 90% of viewers do. Support me with any of the actions you see on screen. It really helps me as a creator who lives for this work. I also invite you to support the channel through sponsorship and get extra privileges. This will finally allow me to spend much more time on YouTube. Another interesting spot is located not far from Desolate Mine. In the original Oblivion, I walked along this road from the mine, and the road itself really is there. It splits in different directions, one part leading closer to the mountains, while the other continues farther through the area. But if you look at this place from above, or just walk through it in the game, there is basically no separate location there. There are slopes, trees, paths, rocks, but nothing like what we see on Skyblivion's map. In Skyblivion though, there is already a small ruined or abandoned area here. You can see a dark burned patch of land, remains of structures, and interestingly, one more or less intact house nearby. And that is exactly why this place feels not just like decoration, but like a spot where some small story could have happened. I also noticed another interesting area not far from the Ayleid ruins of Fanakaz. In the original Oblivion, if you walk through this area, what you mostly see are snowy mountains, trees, slopes, and rocks. So the terrain itself is there, but there is nothing especially distinctive about it. On Skyblivion's map though, you can already see a small area that looks like a natural hot spring spot, surrounded by rocks and red trees. And that is interesting because we remember similar places very well from Skyrim, where you could find NPCs simply relaxing near the hot springs. In the original Oblivion, not far from Leyawiin, if you move northeast from the gate, the area is basically just forest and swamp. There are some separate locations there, like Dark Fathom Cave, but I do not really see any everyday life nearby. On Skyblivion's map though, you can already notice a small house with a large garden in this area. And this is the important part. In some places, Skyblivion adds small settlements, farms, gardens, or just houses near cities and roads, so the outskirts feel a bit more alive. And this is the important part. In some places, Skyblivion adds small settlements, farms, gardens, or just houses near cities and roads, so the outskirts feel a bit more alive. Some of these places have their own markers, like Odil Farm near Coral or Guidon Farm near Anvil, while others are just unmarked houses and gardens, like near Skingrad. But near Leyawiin, because of the landscape itself, the water and the swamps, this little house is located a bit farther from the city, so at first it reads as something more separate. But even that is not all the unmarked or less obvious stuff you can find on the map. For example, there is a ruined area that really reminds me of the scene we saw in the developer's materials with the flame Atronax. The underwater space also caught my attention again, because in some places, especially near Fort Aurus, there is a spot that looks almost like a depression under the water, maybe even like a natural underwater pocket. I'm not saying this is definitely a cave or a separate location, but it is exactly the kind of detail that makes me want to check the water much more carefully after release. But again, even that is still not everything. The biggest problem is that some of these places are simply impossible to properly explain right now, because for that, we need to explore them directly in the game itself. So if you also found any interesting locations on the interactive map, make sure to write about them in the comments. And if you have your own explanation for these places, or even an interesting theory, definitely share it. I would genuinely be interested to read it, and I think other viewers would be as well. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I'll also remind you once again about channel sponsorship, because this kind of support genuinely means a lot to me. And I hope you'll join me in another one of my videos.